Okay, let's continue. كذب أصحاب الأيكة المرسلين. The companions of the thicket, they denied the messengers. They did takdeeb of the messengers as well. Al-Aykah is from the root letters Hamza, Ya, Kaf. An Aykah is used for a thicket, a place that is surrounded, that is covered in trees, many trees that are dense. So it's used for woods, a forest. So the people of the thicket, the people of the woods, the dwellers of the woods. Who are these people? It is said that these people are the people of Madian. Because who was sent to them? The Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam. So the people of Madian, they're known as people of Madian, and they're also known as the people of Al-Aykah. But others say that no, they are different. At that time, there were some people who lived in Madian, and there were some people who lived in Al-Aykah. And Shu'aib alayhi salam was sent to both of them. He lived amongst the people of Madian, but his message was for who? It was also for the Ashabul Aykah. And Al-Aykah, this is an area that is in the region of Tabuk. And at that time, this region of Tabuk, it was covered in forests. إِذْ قَالَ لَهُمْ شُعَيْبٌ. When Shu'aib alayhi salam said to them, أَلَا تَتَّقُونَ? Will you not have fear of Allah? إِنِّي لَكُمْ رَسُولٌ أَمِينٌ. Indeed, I am to you a trustworthy messenger. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُونَ. So fear Allah and obey me. وَمَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ. And I do not ask you for it any payment, because إِنْ أَجْرِيَ إِلَّا عَلَى رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. My payment is only from who? The Lord of the worlds. He is the only one who can give me the jaza for my efforts. Therefore, I do not expect anything from you. And this is a sign of my sincerity. So believe in me. Follow me. Listen to what I'm telling you to do. أَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ. Give full measure. وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُخْسِرِينَ. And do not be of those who cause loss. If you think about it, all the people to whom the messengers were sent, they gave a general message first. What was that? Of fearing Allah, of obeying the messenger, of listening to the messenger. And then the specific wrong that was in that people, that was pointed out. And the people were corrected with regards to that. If you think about it, Nuh alayhi salam, what did he fix in his people? Shirk. What did he point out in his people? Shirk. Similarly, Lut alayhi salam, what did he point out? Homosexuality. Over here, Shu'aib alayhi salam, what does he point out? The cheating that people used to do in their business, in their buying and selling. So he said to them, أَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُخْسِرِينَ. أَوْفُوا, waw, fa, ya, wafa. What does wafa mean? To fulfill something. Wafa of kail means to measure out fully. Wafa of wa'd is to fulfill a promise. Wafa of another is to fulfill a vow. So, awfu what? Al-kail. And remember that al-kail, this is different from wazn. Wazn is to give something by weight. And al-kail is to give something by measure. Like for example, you give something by, let's say, a cup, 2 cups. Or for example, volume. If it's some liquid, you give it according to volume, like for example, 1 liter. Or for example, if it's something that has to be measured, like for example, a piece of cloth, then you will not give it by weight, but rather you'll give it by length. So 1 meter is this much, 2 meters is this much. So whenever you're giving something by measure, how should you give it? Give it in full. If it's supposed to be 1 meter, make it 1 meter, not less. If it's supposed to be 1 cup, make it 1 cup, not less. If it's supposed to be a liter, give it a liter, not less. أَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُخْسِرِينَ. And do not be of those who cause loss, those who reduce. Those who cause loss to who? To others. How? By reducing what is due to them. By not giving the measure in full. So give it in full and do not be of those who give short measure. Wa and zinu, meaning and weigh. Bil qistas al mustaqim, with an even balance. Wazinu from the root letters. Waw zai, noon, wazn. What does wazn mean? Weight. To give something by weight. So for example, give something according to kilograms, by pounds, right? By grams. So when you give something according to weight, make sure that you weigh it where? On a balance, on a scale that is al-mustaqim, that is even. Qistas is from the root letters qaf, sin, ta, qist. And qist is to be just. Qist, adl. What do they mean? Justice. And qistas is used for a scale. Because a scale is used for measuring how? Justly. To justly balance. Because you could give it by just your assumption or by guess. Like, I think it's about a kilo. I think it's about 5 grams. You could do that. But when you use qistas, what's the objective? To make sure you're doing qist. To make sure you're doing justice. You're not causing harm to the other, nor are you causing harm to yourself. And qistas is used for a very accurate and fine scale that picks up the lightest of weights even. You understand? Some scales are very average. Like you stand on them or you put something on them, they give you a rough estimate. But some scales are very, very precise. They're very sensitive. That even if you place a tissue on it, it's going to weigh it. Isn't it so? Even if you put a little bit of pressure on it, it's going to calculate the weight according to that. So qistas is a very fine and a very sensitive scale. So it should be a qistas, and what kind of qistas? Mustaqim. Upright, correct. Meaning, it should not be a scale that is faulty, but rather use a scale that is accurate, that is just. Why? So that no one is caused loss. Every person is given what they deserve. وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ. And do not deprive people of their due. تَبْخَسُوا. Bakhs. And bakhs is to reduce something. Now this is the third thing that he's telling them not to do. First thing was by measure. The second thing was by weight. And this is by counting. That if, for example, you're supposed to give something to someone of a particular number, you're giving 5 bags, you're giving 5 boxes, then make sure you do not reduce the number. لا تبخسوا الناس أشياءهم. أشياءهم, their things, meaning what they have bought from you, what they deserve from you. ولا تعثوا. And do not commit abuse. فِي الْأَرْضِ, in the earth, as mufsideen, as ones who create fasad. تعثوا, عين sa waw or عين ya sa. And it refers to both tangible as well as intangible fasad. So do not create abuse on the earth as mufsideen. Because when you commit abuse on the earth, you are becoming mufsid. And if you look at it, these people, they were businessmen. They used to buy and sell a lot. They used to trade with one another a lot. And they had a lot of corruption in this regard. How? That whenever they would buy and sell, they would cheat one another in order to make more money, in order to gain more benefit, in order to cause loss to the other. In Surah Al-Mutaffifin, what do we learn? وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ. And remember that tatfif is to cause only a little bit of loss to someone. Only a little bit. Like for example, if a person is giving a kilogram of stuff, the label says 1 kilogram. But he knows that it's not exactly 1 kilogram. It's, let's say, 2 grams less. It's 958 grams in total. But he is taking the price of 1,000. How much loss is he causing to the other? And how much is he gaining? A little bit only. Isn't it so? Only 2 grams. What are 2 grams compared to 958? Nothing. It's very little. So when a person tries to cause loss to the other in these matters, then in reality the loss is very little in the tangible sense. But its effects are very, very great. Its consequences are very great. In this dunya and also in the akhirah. In this dunya, what? That people will not trust you anymore. Isn't it so? You will lose customers. People will not feel safe and secure anymore. They will not trust anyone. And if they have been cheated by you, they will have the confidence to cheat someone else. Isn't it so? If you can cheat someone today, you can cheat another person tomorrow. The consequences are great in this dunya. And the loss that you've caused to the other person, it may be very little in the tangible sense. But near Allah, it is very great. So لا تعثوا في الأرض مفسدين. Do not commit abuse in the earth as mischief makers. واتقوا, and fear. Who? الذي, the one who خلقكم, the one who created you. Fear the one who created you. Fear Allah. Why does he say that? Because it is the fear of Allah that keeps a person straight, that keeps a person careful. Then only he can be concerned about giving the rights of other people, not treating other people unfairly. وَاتَّقُوا الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ. Fear the one who created you. And he also created who? وَالْجِبِلَّةَ الْأَوَّلِينَ, and the former creation. He is the one who created you, and also الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Al-Jibillah is from the root letters Jim Ba Lam. What does Jabal mean? Mountain. And from this, the word Jibillah is derived from the word Jabal. And Jibillah is used for a large group of people. Because even they're like the size of a mountain in their number, in their multitudes. And it's also used for a generation. And Al-Jibillah is not only used for a generation of people, but rather it's also used for the nature of a person, the tabi'ah of a person, the nature of a person. So, He created you, and He also created the Jibillah before you. Meaning, the previous generations, all the people, who created them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He advised the people to be fair in their dealings with one another. To make sure they're giving the rights of one another. They're fulfilling their duties to one another. Because when a person does not do that, it leads to fasad in this dunya, and it also leads to loss in the hereafter. قالوا, they said, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مِنَ الْمُسَحَّرِينَ. You are only of those who were affected by magic. Why did they say this? Because what he was saying made no sense to them. They could not understand why he would tell them to not cheat. Because when they cheated one another, they thought they were making a lot of money. Isn't it so? Many people say today that in business you have to cheat. You cannot be honest and sincere and truthful. Because if you're honest and sincere and truthful, you won't get anywhere. Isn't it so? This is what people say. So when he told them, be sincere, be truthful, be honest, they said to him, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مِنَ الْمُسَحَّرِينَ. You've gone crazy. What's wrong with you? If we deal with one another according to your instructions, we won't get anywhere. We will only incur loss. And they said to him, وَمَا أَنْتَ إِلَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُنَا. And you're only but a human being like us. وَإِنَّ ظُنُّكَ لَمِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. And indeed we think you are among the liars. You're only a human being just like us. Why did they say this? To belittle him. And they said, we think you're of the liars, that you're claiming to be a messenger. And if you're truly a messenger, then فَأَسْقِطْ عَلَيْنَا كِسَفًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. So cause to fall upon us fragments of the sky. Kisafan is a plural of kisfa. And kisfa is a broken part of something, a fragment of something. So if you're truly a messenger and you're warning us that if we continue with our ways we'll be punished, then okay. Cause the sky to break up and cause the pieces of the sky to fall down on us, so that we are destroyed. In kunta min as-sadiqeen, if you're really of those who are truthful. This is something very similar that the Quraysh said to the Prophet ﷺ. In Surah Al-Isra, ayah 92, we learn that the mushrikeen of Makkah, they said to the Prophet ﷺ, أَوْ تُسْقِطَ السَّمَاءَ كَمَا زَعَمْتَ عَلَيْنَا كِسَفًا. Or you make the heaven fall upon us in fragments as you have claimed. That you have threatened us? Okay, go ahead and bring the sky upon us. Make it fall down upon us. In Surah Al-Anfal, ayah 32, we learn, وَإِذْ قَالُوا اللَّهُمَّ إِنْ كَانَ هَذَا هُوَ الْحَقِّ مِنْ عِنْدِكَ فَأَمْطِرْ عَلَيْنَا حِجَارَةً مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. The mushrikeen of Makkah, they said, Oh Allah, if this is true from you, then cause the sky to rain down stones upon us. They asked for the punishment to be sent upon them. Why? Because they became extremely stubborn. They didn't want to change. And this is something very sad. That people, they become so confident in the wrong that they're doing. They become so stubborn and firm upon it that no matter how much they're warned, no matter how they are told, no matter how they are corrected, they don't want to change. They say, go ahead, do whatever you want. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to do what you're telling me to do. And eventually, who suffers then? The person himself. The other people don't suffer at all. قَالَ رَبِّي أَعْلَمُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. He said, my Lord is most knowing of what you do. Allah knows of your actions. He knows best about you. He knows if you deserve the punishment or not. He knows if He is going to send the punishment or not. Allah knows best about you. I am not a judge. I am only a warner. فَكَذَّبُوهُ. But they denied Him. فَأَخَذَهُمْ عَذَابُ يَوْمِ الظُّلَّةِ. So the punishment of the day of the black cloud, it seized them. It seized them. They were punished. If you look at it constantly, all the people who denied the messengers, when they became stubborn, did that change the reality? Did that change the truth? No. What happened? They suffered. They were punished. This is what we see constantly. When people became hostile towards the truth, when they refused to accept it, the truth remained what it was. When you deny reality, it does not change reality. فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَأَخَذَهُمْ عَذَابُ يَوْمِ الظِّلَّةِ. The punishment of the day of the black cloud seized them. What does it mean by this يَوْمِ الظِّلَّةِ? الظِّلَّةِ is from the root letters ظَ, lam, lam. And ظِلَّةِ, first of all, means shade. From ظِل. And we have read the word ظُلَل earlier. ظُلَل is shades. So something that overshadows, something that is like a canopy, that something like an umbrella that gives shade to the one that is underneath it. And the word ظُلَّة is also used for a small cloud that overshadows. Sometimes you might see that it's a very small cloud, but you can see its shade on the ground. Isn't it so? Let's say you're on a plane or something, and you can see the shadow of the small cloud on the earth. So what is it? An overshadowing cloud. But it's small, and it has a negative connotation. So عَذَابُ يَوْمِ الظُّلَّةِ, the overshadowing cloud, it covered them, and the punishment, it seized them. إِنَّهُ كَانَ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ. Indeed, it was the punishment of a great day. So what kind of punishment was sent to them? We learned that their punishment, it came in the form of intense heat, which covered them for 7 days. So they were in intense heat for an entire week. And nothing at all could protect them from that intense heat. You know, for example, if it's extremely hot, what do? You go inside the house. But let's say if it's extremely hot and it's extremely humid, is being inside going to help? Not unless you have air conditioning. Isn't it so? And let's say that's not working, or you don't have it available. Then you're constantly exposed to the intense heat. So this is how these people, they were exposed to the intense heat for 7 days. And then what happened? A small cloud was sent upon them. And this cloud, it was overshadowing, so it gave shade as well. And when the people, they saw this cloud approaching, what did they do? They went towards that cloud in order to be under its shade. And they expected that very soon it's going to rain. But what happened? When all of the people had gathered underneath it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent sparks of fire and flames and intense heat upon them. And the earth was caused to convulse beneath them. And a sayha was also blasted. And as a result, all of them were finished. So we see that several punishments were sent upon them. Just imagine, intense heat, all of a sudden a cloud, people think it's going to rain, they run outside, and it starts throwing fire and sparks on them. And the earth starts to quiver. and huge blasting sounds. We learn in Surah Al-A'raf, ayah 91, فَأَخَذَتْهُمُ الرَّجْفَةُ فَأَصْبَحُوا فِي دَارِهِمْ جَاثِمِينَ. Over there we learn the word rajfa. What is rajfa? Earthquake. In Surah Hud, ayah 94, we learn وَأَخَذَتِ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا الصَّيْحَةُ فَأَصْبَحُوا فِي دِيَارِهِمْ جَاثِمِينَ. Over there we learn about صيحة. And over here we learn about ظُلَّة. So 3 types of punishments were sent upon these people. And if you think about it, they were told not to do 3 things. They refused to change themselves, and 3 types of punishments were sent upon them. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةً. Indeed, in that is surely a sign. وَمَا كَانَ أَكْثَرُهُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. But still, most of them were not to be believers. وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الرَّحِيمُ. And your Lord, surely He is the mighty, and He is the most merciful. We listen to the recitation. So what's the ayah in this incident? They asked for kisafan minas sama, to fall down upon them, and literally what happened? A cloud came upon them, throwing sparks on them. So many times in arrogance, in stubbornness, people demand things without realizing the consequences. So we should be very careful about what we ask for, because sometimes just in our stubbornness against someone, just because we don't like someone, we say such harsh things. We demand such things, that fine, this should happen, and fine, that should happen, and then we'll see. And when it happens, then we really see. So we have to be very careful. We should use our mind, even in the most emotional state. What else do we learn? What's the ayah in this incident for us? That they were told not to cheat one another, but they thought it wasn't a big deal, because after all, they were cheating only a little bit. When you cheat one another, you only cheat a little bit. It's only one thing here, one thing there. But we see that even the smallest of deeds, they can have great consequences. So we should not belittle any deed. Any deed, whether good or bad. Don't belittle it. Sometimes this is on a bigger scale, that these people in their business, they were cheating one another. But sometimes it happens that people, they will go for groceries, and certain things are only sold in packages. And what will people do? They will open up the package, take one box out, take one juice box out, take one toilet roll out. Or they will go towards the produce aisle and they will start eating the fresh fruit over there. This is cheating the other people. And people think, oh, what's the big deal? It's not going to cause any loss to them. They're billionaires anyway. So what if I eat one grape or two? So what if I take one box out of here? They're not going to incur any loss. This is exactly what tatfif is. That we think it's only a little bit, but in reality it's big. Because it starts with little things and it leads to big things. That when it comes to especially these things, cheating one another, taking the right of each other, we think nobody is going to know. Nobody's going to find out. Nobody will catch us. But what do we see over here? That my Lord knows about what you are doing. قَالَ رَبِّي أَعْلَمُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. That a person should remember that even if the store manager didn't see me, Allah is watching me. Allah has seen me. And He will hold me accountable if other people cannot. What else do we learn? That if you think about it, this intense heat was a form of punishment for the people. And when the zullah, when the cloud came, it brought punishment to them. And we see that the Prophet ﷺ, whenever clouds would be approaching, his face would change. The color of his face would change, because he would be afraid that what if this is bringing some kind of wrath from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we don't even care. We don't pay any attention. We don't even bother to look up to the sky and to take a lesson from the intense heat that we experience, the constant rains, the constant storms that we experience. We don't reflect on our actions. If you look at all of these nations that we have learned about thus far, each one had a particular crime. Isn't it so? And because of that crime, they were punished. But we see all of these crimes together in the same nation, in the same Muslim nations. Isn't it so? So imagine if these people were punished for just one crime, how careful we have to be. How concerned we must be. How much istighfar we should be doing, and how much amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar we should be doing. If those people were destroyed just because of one crime, then what about us? إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةً وَمَا كَانَ أَكْثَرُهُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Still people do not take a lesson. So we should become very, very careful, and we should become very concerned, and out of well-wishing, just like the prophets of Allah had, we should reform ourselves, and we should also try to reform other people. We listen to the recitation. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.